Hey, what's up, guys? I decided to make another video. This time on Overlord Season 4. I don't have it physically because it didn't like, there's no steelbook of it, and I was not about to buy it. That wouldn't match with the other set, but holy shit, this season was peak. Like, first off, I just want to say the ending theme fucking slaps, bro. Like, I gotta add that shit to my playlist. Like, that's some good shit. Um, Secondly, like, damn, this season went hard. I just gotta be out, like, I was mentioning how, like, in season two, the plot didn't really move forward. This season, the plot just keeps going and going and going. And, like, damn, just the story, like, that they tell in this season is so good. Because now that Ainz is, like, out in the open, it's like people know him. People know, okay, we can't fuck with this guy. Like, we just can't fuck with this guy. Like, nobody can beat him. And then at any chance, like, they think that they have a plan to beat him, he just shows up and is like, nah. Like, and then when these other people, like finally that dragon guy shows up from, like, what was it, like the first episode of season 2 or something like that? Who, like, sorry, it's late, tired, but I had to make this video because I just finished it. But um, yeah, the dragon guy who used to be an adventurer, then he got turned into a dragon. You think, like, that he's gonna, like, be able to defeat Ainz, which I did kind of call that he was the Pandora's actor when, like, it wasn't Ainz. Like, I kind of called it. I was like, oh, that doesn't seem like Ainz, and then it wasn't Ainz. Like, I thought, oh, maybe it's Pandora's actor, but then I kind of went back and forth, so I don't want to get full credit for that. But um, so you think that they kind of got the upper hand on that, like, oh, they know how strong he is, and they think that they can beat him, and then it's like, no, that was just Pandora's actor. So that was cool. Just the whole fucking thing with the kingdom, where it's like we followed the kingdom for years now. Well, not for years, but if you're watching the show as it was airing for years, but for a long time, and just to see it get decimated like that is fucking crazy. And to think how, like, they would have gotten away with it, kind of like, it was so crazy to see how easy it was for them to just, like, like, not, like, kind of convince Ainz, I guess, like, where it's like, okay, we have this carrot and the stick plan. We give the Re-Entities, I think, kingdom or something. We give them the carrot because they surrendered to us, and we give the kingdom the stick. And it was like, and he's just like, yeah, okay, because again, like, they show a lot of how he's not as smart as they think he is, and like, Demiurge thinks of a lot for their plans and stuff like that, which he does too. Like Ainz does have plans, so it's not that bad. I do think that's, like, a little bit, like, I don't think he should be thinking as far ahead as, like, everyone's like, like, praising him, like, oh, you think so far ahead. But I do think, like, there would be, I'd like to see a little bit more of his plans come into fruition, which he has had a few, but just a little bit more. Um, but yeah, so it's just like, just with that one sentence, it's like, okay, the kingdom's fate is sealed. This one fucking guy fucking destroyed everything. And he gets decimated. I'm pretty sure they don't show it, but, like, he's up for some shit. And Zack of the kingdom, you think he's kind of like this piece of shit, like, loser, kind of like, like, not evil, but evil, just kind of like a piece of shit, right? But then it turns out he does really care about the kingdom and his people. And, when, like, that scene with Ainz was so good. And, when he's like, why are you doing this? Why won't you accept our surrender, basically? He's just like, for my people's happiness, you would do the same, right? And he's like, I don't know, like, he's having that conversation with him. And then at the end, he's like, maybe I shouldn't be the leader, you know. And then he tells his assistant, like, Ainz was more human than he thought he'd be. And that whole scene where, like, he gets attacked by the nobles and he gets killed, which I was kind of hoping he'd defeat them, because they kind of, he's like, come at me if you think, you get ready to die or whatever. But it's like, you never saw him fight, so you didn't know if he could do anything. Um, and then he gets, his head chopped off, and they give it to Ainz as, like, a present, and Ainz is just like pissed off, like, upset, which I really like that, because he kind of respected Zack. He was like, you know what, I respect this guy. Like, I know you. Um, like, I don't know, like, really, like, it just was a really good scene with them, and how they kind of had, like, this kind of, like, somewhat understanding of each other, I guess, basically is what I'm trying to say. And just like when those nobles do that and they think he's gonna be all pleased, and he's just like, like after he says like, yeah, I'll spare you and your families, whatever. And then he's like, first of all, he's like send him to the torture place. And that was the thing I was talking about last episode, last video, sorry, where I said like, oh, there was something in there that like I don't think they'd have in a video game, like, and that was the torture room, torture creature thing. Um, that hit me after I finished the video. But yeah, where they're like, okay, take them to him and don't kill them. Like, just keep torturing them until they beg for death. And then when they do, make it slow. Because like, that was just so fucking rewarding. Because, like, once again, you think Zach's this, like, asshole, and he's really not that bad. And then, like, when they have that moment, you're like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I like when Ainz has those moments with other people where it's like he kind of understands them or, like, respects them or something like that. I think that that shit's great, and just to see that scene and then see him get killed, and he's like, and then Ainz is like, I'm done here, like I've lost my interest, like kind of like shit, like I've lost my appetite, kind of deal. um, that shit was so clean, dude. Like that was awesome. Especially just him saying like torture them, do whatever, like you know, um, that was satisfying just because it was like, damn, that I don't know, like you don't even really like Zach that much. It was just that one scene where it was like, okay. But yeah, so just seeing the whole kingdom shit was really interesting. And at first I was kind of like not really that big into it because I was like, I was saying last video, I didn't really think Ainz would, be this evil kind of like he isn't good. He isn't good. That's just the truth. But like, not just kind of mass killing people, but like, so when he did that, it was like you kind of take your I don't know, like how you do that and not sound evil, but because he's gaining all these other allies, which I really like, and it's not through like fear. It's like well, it is kind of. It's like showing them how powerful they are. But like with the dwarves, how he's like, I'll protect you guys. I want you to make weapons for us. I'll give you like a nice home, basically, like all the alcohol you want. So that was pretty cool. But it's like seeing that where they're just like, okay, the kingdom's done, like so we can set an example for everyone. And I think like there's a mix between that and like where Ainz is like, okay, I want to make a world where everyone, like where I want to make my kingdom like prosperous, where all the races can coexist. And that does make sense, and I like that because really, like thinking back and also just watching the show, like there's nobody really treats any of the other races with any kind of respect. Like, I guess like elves a little bit, but that's it. Um, and some people that I thought were gonna die in the battle didn't die. I thought that for sure the gang like that adamant class group was gonna fight, but they end up knocking out the leader and leaving. Which I was like, okay, whatever. I kind of wanted to like, I don't know. I don't fuck with Evil Eye that much. Like the more I think about, it, like the less I like her as time goes on. But like, so I was like, okay, kill him, whatever. I don't care. But there really wasn't that where he killed that many people that you knew, from previous things. There were some big changes where a lot of it was focused back then on climb and Gazif and Cybus, whatever, and all that shit. So it was kind of like, there's only a few really big ones, but then you have these adventuring groups and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, like, and you see them, they're like the big ones, and they didn't appear at all last season. I like it's kind of like they switch back and forth between like showing that Carney Village and them. So it's like, okay, season one they don't appear. I mean, they weren't introduced until season two, but then season two, Carney Village doesn't really appear. The characters, I mean, and then season three, uh, Carney Village is there and they aren't, and then season four, that adventuring group is and they aren't, and Princess Renner was an interesting character this season, and I think I'm not completely sure. Like I'm stupid. I've mentioned this plenty of times, but I just don't understand things sometimes. Um, what exactly her whole plot was, where they reveal like, oh, she was the one that came up with this, and they show some flashbacks and stuff. And some stuff I felt like fit, some stuff didn't, in my opinion. Where like, when they show the flashback and they're like, okay, don't kill this person, they never showed who it was. Um, that makes sense that it's Climb, and then also with the armor, where it's like she asked him, not to change his armor so that he wouldn't be killed by Ainz, and that made sense too. But there was another one where I'm like, I don't really know about that, but Climb went through it this season, bro. Like once again, like she had that fucking singing number at the end was kind of crazy, bro. Like I feel like I was fucking watching like a like a like a music video. Like what the fuck's going on with that? But she's psycho. And once again, like I mentioned last season, she's kind of like the Albedo, but with Climb. And they really reinforced that this season with her becoming like a demon and her becoming a servant of Albedo, especially, where she like does that so that she can be with Klein forever. And for a second, like at the end, I thought that they were gonna go real fucked up, like where he's sitting in the he's sitting in the bed and he's like all fucked up after the battle because he just like is fighting, fought Ainz and Ainz does. I love what Ainz also mentions, like, oh, if this were a story, you'd get the power to defeat me right now, but this ain't what it is, and just fucking cuts his arm off basically. That shit was clean. And as soon as it's Princess Renner in the room and the king is dead and everything, it's kind of like like they're up to something, like because you saw Renner meet with Albedo and was talking with Albedo and stuff. You don't get that much, but one of the things I didn't understand, this just popped into my head, was when they show the flashback of when Demiurge was like, "Oh, I have an idea for something. Like, I want to go somewhere. Can you, can I go somewhere for a bit?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're doing it for the good of Nazareth, right?" So it was like, where did he go? Like, they didn't end up showing where he went. Like, I thought it was gonna be like, oh, he went to the princess or something. I don't know, but like that just didn't feel explained. But just kind of seeing like how really fucked up she is, like. But with Climb, I don't know. Like, does she? Because I can't tell what's fake and what's not with Renner. Like, does she actually care about any of these people? Like, any of these kids and stuff? I mean, she killed her own father. I am sure, like, they said, like, Climb's like, oh, you made her kill her own father. It's like, I am sure she did that without any fucking convincing, really. Like, and she did save him. So I'm just wondering, I'm kind of wondering, like, personally, how deep that loyalty is, where if he knew everything that she did, would he still care? Like, would he still love her and feel the same way that he does? I don't. Like I said, it depends how much of like how she acts is really her and how much of it is bullshit. So, but just seeing that and Klein becomes a demon at the end, where that shit was so cool. And she, even then, she doesn't reveal like like, oh, I was a part of this. She's like, oh, I became a servant of mine so that he would bring you back to life and we could be together. Like, will you become a demon for me? Like, that shit was kind of crazy. And he's like in the bed and he can't fucking respond. Oh, and what I was saying earlier with like something was gonna be fucked up was when he woke up, I thought like he was gonna be like fucking mutilated, like no arms, no legs type shit, like just like and she was gonna do that kind of thing where I'm gonna take care of you forever and ever, but it didn't go that way. Um, and then she has her fucking musical number, which is like, okay, once again, that shit was like so out of it. Like, it made sense for like the craziness of her, but it was also just like came out of nowhere because we've never had anything like that before. Um, but yeah, that was interesting. And then they reveal, she was the one behind the kingdom, going down like 90% of it was her plan, and it's just I love the twist. Things will happen and then it'll be like, okay, that like either, like the Pandora's actor thing or like I said with her planning 90% of it. There'll be things where like there's those twists or like they'll say that it's like there was this in the background you didn't know about it is like you just really well done and doesn't really feel out of place, like where it's like sometimes you watch something and they're like, oh, this is they'll put something in the back, like a I don't know if it's like a retcon or whatever it's specifically called, but they'll put something back there, and you're like, no, there's no way they originally planned for all of this to happen. Like so, like you know, I don't know, something like Mac being gay from It's Always Sunny, something like that. Like they mention that like it's not like it wasn't originally planned, but I mean like even in the show is what I mean because you know, but like something like I can't think of an like example. There was something recently where I'm like, okay, there's no way that was planned, but I can't think of it. But like the Renner stuff felt like okay, that makes sense, and Brain went out like a bitch this season, bro. Like Brain I started to really like him, and you kind of see, and you also with Brain and you know Saltier, Saltier, I don't know, Shaltier, um, you see like which I mentioned also last video. I keep mentioning last video a lot. I said how like I like when they reveal something, they'll mention something or show something, and then you forget about it, and then they bring it back, and it's like, oh yeah, like I forgot about that. I love when they do that, and they did that with Shoutier. When she didn't chase after Brain after he cut her fingernail because she was with Climb. So I like that because I remember she was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna let this go," and then she never followed him. But I completely forgot about that. Uh, so that was something where it's like, okay, that's cool. The King this season, he got done pretty dirty. Like like his son died. Oh, that was a good thing too. That was a really good thing with Zach and Ives, where he's like, did you or one of your followers kill my brother? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, thanks for letting me know. Like, not how he said it was the exact way that they did it, where I was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. Like, because he didn't like his brother, and he wanted to become king anyway, so it's kind of like whatever. So he wasn't like a saint or anything, but he I don't think he deserved to go out like that. Um, Also, the king didn't as well. The king kind of like has been like this okay guy the whole time. He hasn't really done that much, but it's like at the end, he just doesn't have anything. Like and I'm sure, like I said, I am sure Renner killed him. I am certain of it. Like like not. I mean, not being controlled. Like she like killed him. So it was like if he knew that at the end, it's like that's fucked. Like this dude could not catch a break. When he's like, both my sons died before me. It's like I forget the first guy's name, Brownack or something like that, and he's like, like one wasn't enough, basically. Like both my sons had to die before me. That was that was crazy. And then like I said, them killing every single fucking person in the kingdom was something where it's like at first like where I was kind of giving Hines more credit than he deserved with like the his mercy. Where they do reveal they ended up letting which they revealed that Albedo has a sister, which I felt like came out of nowhere. That didn't feel right. Like which I guess like sister just kind of means like was created by the same person. Um but it just felt really weird that they just kind of threw that out there like, oh, Albedo has an older sister and she's like this fucking creepy ass bitch, but she's nice. Like, but she ain't got no face, but she wanted to save the humans and stuff like that, and also the dog maid, which you see in the second season. I think probably in the third too, but um, that was something where I was like, oh, okay, so they're both, and I like how he mentions like, okay, we don't have many people that are merciful here, so it's important to take into account what they have to say. I like that. So he does let some people survive from that. But it's like, but the kingdom, who did he let survive? They said like Brain at the end says, oh, most of them didn't, couldn't leave the town basically, and it's like, okay, but then what the fuck happens to them? So I guess they all die. Um, that one town where, like the seaside town, I forget the name, with that group of adventurers who like defeat the two Death Knights. Well, they don't. Like they bring in this fucking Iron Man guy. It is so weird to me when they bring in guns in this shit because there is like they've done it a few times. Like there's a specific character that uses a gun, but they bring in this dude with the whole ass fucking Iron Man suit and a machine gun and shit, and it's like that was fucking wild. Like that shit just came out of nowhere to me, where it's like it just doesn't feel like it fits with the fantasy aesthetic basically, but it's cool. It's cool to see something like that. But yeah, so then like I didn't like that where Ainz was planning that and then it fails and he like tries to act like, oh, that was my plan, that it would fail the whole time. And I didn't really like that. Like I want like I said, I want Ainz to have more of those plans where it's like, okay, and he does have those, like I said, with Pandora's actor, and how he's like, oh, I'm willing to lose as long as like I don't, as long as I don't die, I'm willing to take a loss so I can get an ultimate win at the end. I thought that that was cool, and that was like some of the strategic shit I like. Um, yeah, but man, this season just it really like Albedo had a big role this season. I think like looking back, if you look back on the show, she's not as big of a character as you would think, especially in season two. But I think watching it back because she's always in Nazareth until this season, and Ainz usually isn't. So when we're following Ainz, he's like, he's not never in Nazareth, but he like always is moving, and we're following other characters, and it's like just looking back, like I said, you notice she's not in as much. But this season, she really gets a starring role, and Imes is in it a lot more, and just like I said, this season really moves the plot forward. And at the end, they have that thing where it says the and begins the end or some shit. And I know that the I was looking that there isn't a season 5, but they're waiting for like the I don't know manga or light novels to catch up or whatever. So I'm interested to see. Like that reminded me of My Hero, where when they uh, start the war arc basically, and it says like the beginning of the end at the end of the season. That just reminded me of that. But yeah, that shit, man, like I don't know. I think that this season really just was like absolute peak and peak of Overlord in general. Like I said, I've liked every single season, but just this whole thing where it's like finally, like he is building his kingdom. His thing is he's gonna take over the world, and it's like well, basically he's just kind of like, oh, my people want to take over the world. They misinterpreted what I said. Well, no, they took what he said seriously because I remember how he said it, but. That was just some shit where it was like, okay, finally we're getting somewhere, and we finally see, and just this season, like I said, because he only had that one town, and then he goes from having that one town to like having the entire Riestes, I think it is, kingdom uh, subjugated, underneath him when the guy surrenders, to also having the dwarfs like a friendship with the dwarves, and then he also gets the dragons and the I forget what their names are. The kind of like animal people, like wolf things. I forget. Um, like them to follow him. So it's like he has a whole bunch of like his power is growing, and I heard some people complain about the whole deal of him not having, like, him being overpowered, but I fuck with that so much. It's just so satisfying, and then any time you think like, okay, he's, like I said with the whole Pandora's actor thing where he was kind of being beaten, um, and then it turned out it was just a plan. Like I'm interested to see what they do with that. I think the overall villains, and like I said, Hines isn't a good guy, but I think that the church or whatever it is, the I can't remember the name, like that country where they're like, oh, humans are the best, humans are number one type shit, where it's like, they need to go. They're gonna go. Um, they're done. You're done. Basically, like it's just a matter of time for them, and they are the bad people. And once again, there wasn't any showing of any other characters of Overlord. Like the guy mentioned, like the dragon who's piloting that armor that fought Pandora's actor like mention that someone was a player, and thinks it's Albedo because he fought Pandora's actor and not the real guy, real Ainz. So it's kind of like he knows something about players, but I don't think he's like, a player himself. But we haven't seen any other players. And at this point, I don't even know if there are any other ones. Like, he mentions, like, especially this season, like, I don't think he mentioned it as much last season, like, even from the get, like, at the beginning, it was like, okay, just to find other players. But then it's like, oh, to find my comrades. And it's like, I don't think anyone's there, dude. Like they're gone. I don't know. Like it would be cool if some of them are there, I guess, but I don't know, dude. I don't know. It just feels like when he says that, it's like I really don't think there's anyone there, and there hasn't been any real evidence to kind of do that. And the more I watch, the more I'm pretty sure they might have like said this, and I'm just stupid, but it basically revealed that like that church country was the one who used the world item on Shaltier. So I I think like vaguely thinking back, like that makes sense. Like they might have even like said that and like or showed it or whatever, and I'm just too dumb. But yeah, so that kind of explains that. So then there's not a player, and I don't know. So just let me know if any of the movies are worth watching. I forgot that they have movies, but when I was looking to add this season to Annie list, um, oh, I use Ojo, the app. It's pretty cool for keeping track of your anime and stuff like that. But yeah, that was just I found out that they had those movies. I don't really have too much else to say. I think, um, just damn, this season was good. I'm really really excited for when they keep going with this when they cap it off. I'm excited to see what they do. And I mean I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Climb now. Like, what is he gonna do? Like, cause he's kind of like an innocent victim who keeps getting fucked over. Like, if I was Climb, I don't know what I'd do, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, Renner's crazy, but she also really does love him. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, that's something I've been thinking about. Where it's like, if I was Climb personally, would would I be with Renner if she did all the things that I knew? Um, like if I were in his position, not like if I was that. And I was thinking, like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Um, but yeah, dude. Anyway, this season was really good. Oh, Shoutier. They also give her moment, and they even mention like she's been on the back burner since season one, basically. So they give her moment where she finally is like, okay, I finally feel like I've fully redeemed myself from the season one incident, which like I said, is really like it felt really nice because yes, she was on the back burner. They never said that, but like they'd be like, okay, hold back on this. We can't use you because of your bloodlust, stuff like that. So it was nice to see her in action. Her and Aura, their relationship was pretty good. Revealing that like the creators were like the older sister and the younger brother. I thought that it was Shaltier was like I don't know. I thought Albedo was the one who was like created by like the older brother because they showed like that flashback scene. If you know what I'm talking about from season one, where it was like, oh, it turns out that they were related because they have that flashback scene of where it's like, oh, my sister's voicing this character in this new Orochi game, so I can't play it now. I was really excited for it, so I thought that was who it was, but then they kind of act like it's Aura and Shaltier, so I guess I'm misinterpreting that as well, but yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, dude, this season was really good. I'm excited that I'm glad I'm not excited. I'm glad that I watched all of it all the way through and just was able to do what I wanted to do and not do what I want. I watched it all like through and I didn't take breaks or like Rito. I didn't watch an anime in between basically is what I'm trying to say. And I'm glad I didn't because it was just really nice to get this story and I'm excited to see where it goes. I want to see what's going on because we've wiped out most of our supporting cast that isn't a part of Nazarack. Brain might still be alive. I don't know. It seemed like he could or he couldn't, depending on the way that they go with this. He seemed like he was frozen, so I don't know, like he was stabbed first. I don't know. It seems like he's dead, but I like just the way that they were showing it kind of makes it seem like he wasn't. But sorry, I'm just rambling. I really need to wrap this up. My phone battery's dying, but anyway, I'm not sure what anime is next. I'm thinking well, I don't want to commit to anything. But anyway, that's about it. Peace.